Hello guys, this is Th3Ruthless and welcome to another video. Today we're gonna talk about PVE because everyone has been asking for some PVE builds. So here we go, let's go. So we're gonna start with the skill explanation, the skill specialization. This is a single target. We're gonna start with the single target specializations and then we're gonna go with some AoE builds. So let's get over the skills first. This is the skill set you're going to use. The only difference I find from person to person, now I don't know what you want to play. I will tell you what I believe is the best. I do not use Infernal Meteor because it has a very long cooldown and also a very big casting time. And I don't think the damage is worth it for the casting time it has. Okay, so instead I'm using the Ray of Disaster, which also takes more damage while you have skill heal. Okay, I will explain that later. This is the passives that we are going to use. I will explain why do I have Devotion of Emptiness in it. The other ones are normal DPS and Vampiric Contract. I haven't leveled them up, but this is because I do not usually play like this. This is only for bosses. This is single target DPS for bosses, for secret dungeon bosses, for co-op dungeon bosses, for world bosses, etc. This is single target, okay? Remember this, it's very important. And also I have to mention that the gear I'm using, you will see, it's not very optimal. This is my DPS gear. You can see this is my normal for PvP, the one that I use in open world and on my hybrid builds. And this is the one that I'm trying to build for my single target and AoE PVE DPS. Let's say this is my PVE, okay? I'm starting to build this right now. So let's go and see the rotation. So you will always start with high focus. Now, if the boss has a mechanic that is gonna start like in 8 seconds, let's say, from the moment that you're gonna start hitting it, it's better to not start with high focus and start with it after the phase or whatever the boss does. I will explain also later. So let's start with the boss that has no abilities in the beginning. We will start normally with using high focus. Then we will go to focused fire bombs. Let's put some stellarites. So again, high focus, focused fire bombs. We're using Touch of Despair, Inferno Wave, and then we're going for Time for Punishment, Ray of Disaster, Fireball Barrage, Decaying Touch, Touch of Despair, and then we use Curse Explosion and Ice Spear Bombardment. And then we use Judgment Lightning and Chain Lightning. These two spells are like fillers, okay? So let's go and show it one time. Let's take one that no one is hitting. So this one. So this is the full rotation, okay? Now this is the specialization you are using behind it. So we are using focused fire bombs with only mobility because these two are not necessary. We can use this one, but it doesn't really affect our DPS. It's just that the projectile is going faster to the mob. AoE we don't need it because this is a single target build. Then on Inferno Wave, you are using the cooldown, use it 2 times and apply more burning stacks. Fireball Barrage, one more fireball per stack. This is why this is the combo, focused firebombs, Inferno Wave to Fireball Barrage, and this is the cooldown to match the rotation. Then we have Ice Spear Bombardment to make it create many Ice Spears and then increase the damage boost. High focus only with base damage boost, so we get the cooldown reduction. Judgment Lightning only with the casting, so we can use it twice. And then we go to the wand. We want to have the curse to have 50% chance to apply 2 stacks of Touch of Despair, so we don't spam it. Then we have Curse Explosion. Now we have the full specialization in this skill. We make it single target. It boosts the damage per stack of Touch of Despair. And this is to keep the curses and decrease the damage by 50%. Now this is something that you can change. When the fight is long, you want the stacks to be there all the time. When the fight is not long and you want to burst, you remove this thing. Okay, so this is situational. It depends on the boss. If it's a fast fight, we use it like this. If it's not a fast fight, we use it like this. Then on decay touch, we have the extra damage on the curse, and then the extra also damage on the target. And then on the Ray of Disaster, we use the cooldown and the concentration effect time, which reduce the cooldown and the damage is boosted. Now, let's talk about the passive. Now, in the passives, you will see I have this, which is skill heal increased by 30% and decrease cooldown by 10% during the day, and skill increase damage over time by 30% and decrease skill cooldown at night. So, this is a jack of all trades, because if it's night, you get more damage, but if it's day, you get 10% cooldown reduction, which is amazing. And also, if you watch the Ray of Disaster, it says additional increased damage equal to 50% of the skill heal. So, if you go here, you will see that we have 30% skill heal. That means the 50% of that, it's 15% extra damage for this skill. Then we have the curse duration, okay, and then the vampiric, which increases, which gives you health while you have dodge on the mob. So I'll go fast on secret dungeons, okay, Gate of Infinity, and give you an example of how this build works. So now let's talk about the Aoe PVE. So this is for farming mobs, let's say, or clearing a dungeon, or anyway not a single target. This is Aoe. Okay, so the skills are almost the same. We just need to get Karmic Haze and Sleep, and I will explain why. And here, the only thing we have to change is the Mana Ball Eruption. Yep, and we will put Full Corruption in its place. Okay, so let's go to skill specialization. Now we have focused fire bombs with the AoE. We have the Inferno Wave, Chain Lightning, Judgment Lightning. High focus is exactly the same. We removed Fireball Barrage and Ice Spear, and then we did AoE, the Touch of Despair. We removed the single target and the Dark Explosion from the Curse Explosion. Decaying Touch remains the same. We have to have Instant Sleep and Karmic Haze to spread it, because Curse Explosion does more damage like this. Because if you read on Sleep, it says the first attack on a sleeping target lands as a critical hit and waking the target. And also we have Ray of Disaster. We just made it AoE. So let's go on and see how this rotation works. So the rotation is high focus into focused fire bombs, into Touch of Despair, Inferno Wave. Then we use Time for Punishment, Decaying Touch, Touch of Despair, and then we sleep the target, we use the Karmic Case to catch Explosion, and then we use our instant spells, which is Ray of Disaster, Judgment Lightning, Chain Lightning, and then we probably have a cooldown of Focus Fire Bomb as well. But let's see it. And this is our rotation. But let's go and see it also with mobs. Okay, so let's try this with as many mobs as possible. So here we are. We start with focused fire bombs. These are AoEs. We sleep. We AoE, and then we wake everyone up from the slumber, and then we use our instant spell, and that's pretty much it. And we got some epics also. This guy was left out, but he will have the same fate. There we go. And this is our amazing AoE build. Okay, now let's talk about stats. Stats are very important. When you go PvE, you will always need 50 strength, no matter what, because you need to get the heavy attack chance, and as much dexterity as possible. Wisdom and perception are not really important in PvE. The most important are strength and dexterity. Now, if you can get your wisdom up to 30, is fine, because most of the times you will be out of mana. If you find yourself staying out of mana, you will always go to your skills. I would say remove probably Chain Lightning, and in the place of Chain Lightning, use Inner Peace. And if you need a lot of mana, you can put the effect Duration in order to get more mana and do not stop killing mobs ever. This is a very good alternation for even the single target build. So remember this, very important. Now let's go over to skill specialization, to weapon mastery, sorry. Now in weapon mastery, in staff, I go full in the middle one and the bottom one for PvE. I say again for PvE, because if you go for PvP, you would probably need the mana flexibility to not stay out of mana during fights. You can either turn this to make it full on the bottom line. So let's say, for example, here you have more burning chances and magic damage dealt by 5%, and here you have the cooldown speed. Now, myself, I prefer cooldown in order to refresh skills and play faster, but if you prefer, you can finish the attribute on the bottom and go to destroy up to mana intensification. Either way, it's very good. And in the wand, you'll go the top one full for damage, and then you will get the bottom one up to time of curse. Now, in this one as well, you can go for the increased skill boost damage chance if you want, instead of the cooldown. But as I have said, I prefer the cooldown, so this is why I have done it this way. You can play around with your stats, you can play around with your character to see what you really prefer. It's up to you. I'm just giving you what's best for me right now. You can play around with this stuff. This is not very important for the rotation you're gonna have. It's not gonna change anything. It's just a thing of preference, okay? So now that we have covered single target DPS and AoE DPS, we're going to cover the last part, which is the support. How do you play as a support in PvE? So here are the skills you are going to use and the passives. I'm going to explain them through skill specializations, and then we're going to go and explain the passives. So, as you can see in the staff, I have 3 damage spells. I will tell you what do you do on your off time after healing. We have high focus with increased max damage and targets expanded, so you use it in all party. So that means that they get 19.33% cooldown and 15 damage. Okay, and then we go on the healing. With healing, the most important spell, I think. Your single target heal. Then we have Clay Salvation with removes weaken and increased radius, Invincible Wall decreased radius and targets expanded for all the party, Blessed Barrier always with skill duration increased, and then we have Fountain of Life with everything in it to expand the radius, the effect duration, and the mana recovery. If you want, the only change I would do in this one, if you do not like to DPS at all, you can put one point here on mana recovery so your single target spell can also heal, and also you can make the Blessed Barrier AoE if the party is taking too much AoE damage, but I have never seen it happening. So let's go to stat points. Now in stat points you will need a lot of wisdom, as much as possible, in order to get as much mana as you can. I will tell you why this is important. Also you need the cooldown speed, and also try to have perception on 40 in order to get buff duration. Buff duration is very important because except for the healing, the wand has 3 buffs that I will show you in a bit. So mana is also really important because if you look at the passives, sorry, we need to change this passive Flame Condensation instead of this because this is PVE. So this passive tells you that for every 1000 max mana you have, you gain 2.66% of skill heal, which is very, very, very important. So let's go and see what you're doing. So I would suggest, first of all, let's say why buff duration is important, because this is a buff, this is a buff, and this is a buff. You have 3 out of your 6 spells. It's 6, isn't it? It's, let's see, the wand is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 3 out of your, this is stuff actually, that's why. So 3 out of your 6 support spells are a buff. So buff duration is important. So what do we do? In order to single target heal, we always use the Blessed Barrier on the guy that takes the most damage, and then everything else is AoE apart from the Swift Healing, which is single target. What I would suggest is to always start with your buff, the high focus, before you engage, and give the tank that is pulling almost everything like Blessed Barrier. PvE healing is very easy. Try to have your teammates be around you in a range because this has a range for everything. And also when you want to recover their HP and the mana, tell them to stay around. This is the only thing you have to do. Now apart from that, you have an escape skill, which you can use if you want to reach someone fast, if you want to escape a skill or anything like that. You can replace this with a damage spell if you want. And when it's your downtime and no one needs heal, you will use your focused firebomb into Inferno Wave, and then Fireball Barrage and Ice Spear Bombardment in order to help with the DPS. And that's pretty much it. I think it's pretty straightforward. Supporting in PvE is actually really easy. If people stay around you, they will never die. Try to use them like separate as possible. Don't use all your skills at the same time, so you will not stay with heal at any point. So for example, if you use the AoE barrier, then try to use a bit of single target healing, okay, to your friends, then use the AoE healing. After a while, see if they are taking a lot of damage, tell them to come around you, then use the skill on the floor. You have again the single target healing, you heal them again, and then after a bit you will have your invisible wall to use it in order to save everyone if they are taking so much damage. So with the last build, this covers everything about PvE. I think with this stuff wand guide, you don't have anything else to fear. You have everything. You have your single target damage, you have AoE farming, you have your healing and support build, you have everything you need. If you want anything to ask me, you know where to find me, my Discord, my stream. You can also answer and find me in YouTube comments. I always answer your comments. So that's pretty much it. Thank you all for being here. Thank you for watching my videos. Ruthless out. Peace.